The Philippines sits in one of the most volatile environments on Earth. It is locked right in the Pacific Ring of Fire and directly in the path of the world's most active typhoon belt. When Spanish colonizers arrived in the 16th century, they brought their own building traditions with them. They constructed heavy, rigid stone fortresses and churches, treating the tropical landscape exactly like the Iberian Peninsula. That approach worked until 1645. A massive earthquake struck Manila and instantly leveled those imported stone structures. The rigid masonry couldn't flex, so it shattered. The colonists realized that trying to overpower the local environment with sheer architectural weight was a death sentence. To survive here, they had to adapt. All around the ruins of those stone churches, the indigenous Bahay kubo were still standing. Built on elevated bamboo stilts, these traditional houses survived the quake almost effortlessly. The Bahay kubo relies on a flexible frame of wood and bamboo. Instead of resisting seismic tremors, the entire house sways and moves with them. But for the colonial elite, these native structures had two major drawbacks. Wood and thatch are highly vulnerable to fire, and a traditional hut lacked the physical prestige required of the ruling class. The solution was a hybrid. They created the Bahay na Bato, or house of stone. It projects the illusion of a solid Spanish fortress, but structurally, it functions like a native stilt-house. To understand how it works, we have to look at its layers. The ground floor, known as the zaguan or silong, wasn't meant for living. It was a utilitarian space used to store carriages, horses, and supplies. Those thick stone walls look like the foundation, but that's a deceptive facade. They don't actually hold up the second floor. Looking at this X-ray, the true support comes from the haligi, massive wooden posts running directly to the roof, acting as a freestanding skeleton. During an earthquake, this wooden skeleton sways elastically, while the heavy stone walls crack and collapse outward without pulling the house down. The base of the building relies on architectural deception. It sacrifices its heavy outer shell to protect the family living safely above. Moving up to the second floor, you'll immediately notice the volata. It's a wooden upper level extending dramatically outward, overhanging the stone base below. Pushing the second floor outward expands the living area, casting a permanent shadow over the lower walls, shielding the interior from the direct tropical heat. Instead of glass, the main sliding panels are made of translucent capiz-shells, filtering harsh glare while filling rooms with soft light. Directly beneath them are the ventanillas, smaller sliding panels at floor level that draw cooler air across the floorboards. Inside the living room, walls don't reach the ceiling. The gap is filled by the colado, intricate wooden fretwork that allows rising hot air to escape. The upper floor operates as a passive cooling machine. It functions as a respiratory system that allows a massive building to constantly breathe. Capping the structure is the cuatro aguas, a steep, four-sided hip roof. As this aerodynamic model shows, a standard two-sided cable roof creates a flat wall that catches heavy wind. The four sloping sides of the cuatro aguas deflect typhoon-force winds approaching from any direction. At the back of the house sits the azotea, an open-air stone terrace for daily chores. Attached to this space is the aljibe, a large cistern. It captures the massive downpours cascading off that steep roof, collecting safe, stored drinking water for the household. Between the wind-deflecting roof and the water-catching cistern, the top and rear of the house neutralize the threat of tropical storms. They take a destructive force of nature and turn it into a vital resource. When looking at the fully assembled structure, the Bahay na Bato isn't just a Spanish colonial copy. It is a distinct, highly evolved survival machine. Dissecting its parts reveals a physical map of Philippine history. At its core, the house relies on the structural bones and flexibility of the ancient Austronesian stilt-house. Layered over that native engineering is the spatial logic of the Spanish colonizers, bringing European floor plans, distinct aesthetic motifs, and an aristocratic scale. And tying it all together is the physical craftsmanship. The intricate wood carvings and heavy stone paving, like the piedrachina lining the ground floor, were largely supplied by Chinese immigrant artisans. The Bayan na Bato proves that lasting resilience doesn't come from forcing a single dominant style onto a landscape. It comes from the synthesis of diverse cultures, materials, and ideas built specifically to weather the storm.